Right, hello. So, time for a stream. Looks like the chat window is still broken, so I'm going to have to do pop-out chat. So give me 1 minute if people get in really quickly. If not, it won't make a difference. Right, there we go. I've got the pop-out chat on so I can see the messages now. So I need to set the live chat as well. So, all right, Thomas. So, yeah, this was just that green laser pen that was a quite cheap one, but this is surprisingly good, actually, for how cheap it is. I think it's about 100 milliwatt. It says 100 milliwatt on the label. And generally here, because we don't have limits, they don't have to lie about what the power is. But yeah, there you go. If you want to see it directly in the camera, I don't want to damage that too badly. So I won't keep that up because that, with the stronger lasers, does actually damage the camera. But with this one, it shouldn't do it too much. Makes that luminescence go a fair bit on there. Not as much as the UV one, but still a fair bit. But hello, everybody. So yeah, so mystery solved when I did the video on it. The red outserts on the S10 definitely are laser protection. So that's what they are. Although I had people in the comments going, no, they're not for that. Even though I demonstrated it in the video. Like if you ever use laser glasses or laser goggles, you'll see it's the exact same effect they do to the green wavelength. There's not really any point me doing a video on sites, Jake, in all honesty, if you mean like gun sites, because, you know, I'm in the UK for obvious reasons. Shed on Fire, there's only laws regarding stupid use of them. So basically, if you went and waved it at an aeroplane and waved it at people driving down the road, you could get a very long prison sentence or a very high fine. In terms of what you want to buy, there's no limit. Basically how laws should be, you know, that if you break the law, if you do stupid things to endanger other people, you get the book thrown at you. If you want stuff for your own personal use, there's not a problem. Yeah, it's there from the other day when I did the St. George's one. I've not put it back up yet because I normally need to get a chair to put it back on the wall where it goes on the wall. Slow mode flint and steel means that basically people can't spam the chat. It means unless you're a moderator, you have to wait whatever the time is on the slow mode between making comments. Yeah, this is the new laser. This is just... it's not a brilliant one. There we go. Connection comes with loose because obviously these are fairly cheapo ones off eBay. But the actual laser diodes in it's fairly good. It's just that some of the casing's not brilliant in terms of you know, like how well it fits together. But the diode in it's pretty good. And I mean, the case isn't bad. It's just one of those things where ideally it needs to tighten up a bit more. You know, so bits in it would make better contact. But considering these are only £10, they're not bad at all. Because back in the day, for 100 milliwatt, you'd be paying a lot more than £10. And obviously, like I said, I've got better lasers than this, but this is quite nice just to have as demonstrating green ones. There's not, Zane. If you mean as long as it's not stolen property, we're not like America with ITAR, if that's what you mean. If you have a gas mask in the UK, you're free to send it wherever. No, War Bros, I have to check that out at some point. Right, Peach? But no, I haven't seen anything on the Draeger Simplex. I know what Master Draeger Simplex is, though. It's basically the Israeli 4A1 before the 4A1. No, I don't think I've seen World of Gun, whatever that is. Well, I've never seen a green laser before, Freddy. Green lasers used to be the really, really common lasers, the green ones. By the way, what you can see there is a reflection of it hitting the screen and then reflecting back. Yeah, don't want to shine that in my eye. Although I worry less about this one because it's only 100 milliwatts roughly. You know, like I said, you can tell it's not as powerful as some of the others because of if you use it in a dark room, it doesn't light the room up. Yeah, have you seen ACM the video Styro Pyro does, where he now and again shows like really old chunky laser units, you know, that are like that big, you know, they're gigantic and they only give off like 1 milliwatt or something because of how much, you know, technology is advanced that you can have something 100 times as powerful, you know, or thousands of times as powerful in that sort of size setup. If you literally mean a UV torch, go on Amazon or eBay, search UVA torch. All right, Nick. I can't help you there, Rome. It is literally a case of you twist them on, then they snap into place. Or as in a Luger P08 pistol, Freddy. Yeah, I know what pistol it is. I don't have one. Because in the UK, and I should have deactivated one, you can't have pistols pretty much full stop. It's not actually out though, is it, Joshua? I've seen the Steam page for it, but it's not actually released. And it's one of those companies making it that seems to make a lot of trailers for games and not actually release many games. So, if it comes out and it's interesting. Well, that's just because I didn't put the flag away the other day. You will at some point, Jake, but it'll be pretty rare. I've gone over all the reasons before, so I'm not going to go over it again. I'm hopefully going to get a chance, maybe Wednesday, to get some crossbow videos done. Not those, David, but we've had some similar comments, like, where can I buy a really simple, straightforward item, as in Amazon or eBay. Yeah, there's no point, is there, Nick? For that money, you might as well move somewhere else and get one. Because in the Isle of Man, you should be able to get one, as far as I understand the law, and that's not very far away. I did actually buy a new gun today, but that's just because it's payday tomorrow. Already have, Eddie. But, yeah, so the Steyr Mannlicher I've ordered today, so hopefully that will come fairly quickly. I don't know how you mean. By BB gun, do you mean air gun, or do you mean like an airsoft gun? But in theory, yes, you can if you're in the UK at least. But again, look up the laws and then read them up for yourself. At least you've got the industrial filter for it as opposed to the old filter, which is pretty cool. But yeah, I'll just have a look and see if they've said anything about my order yet on there. No, not yet. But like I said, I think it said please allow 2 weeks for delivery when I ordered it anyway. But that should be quite good, having a Mannlicher, which is like the funniest name for a gun ever. But that will be when I do some videos on it, like restoring the wood on it, maybe potentially putting a varnish on the wood if the wood's really in bad condition. Oh, is it Anzac Day today, Joshua? I don't know. No ACM. Right, you'd know if I would. This is one of those questions where you're going to get blocked eventually if people keep asking that, just because it gets very, very irritating when people literally ask the same questions over and over again. But it's not so much like I'm trying to have a go at you. It's just it gets very frustrating when you're doing these, when you get the same questions over and over. In theory, Alexei, if it's a 12-foot-pound air rifle that's short, then that would be illegal. If it's an air pistol pretending to be a sawn-off air rifle and it's only 6 foot-pounds, that would be legal, wouldn't it? Again, it's just the weird way our law works. That's pretty good, though, Scott, isn't it? And it's like that Mannlicher I've ordered. It's not one. It's an obsolete caliber one, but I don't really have any intention of trying to find the ammo for it and then registering it as a firearm. I just thought it would be a good project to get a really cheap kind of, fully functional firearm, but not one you probably want to shoot due to damage, and then just restoring it. Because I think that'd be quite good, like getting as much rust off as possible over the course of a couple of videos. I've done that with helmets before on videos, but I think with a full-on rifle, people might find it more interesting. Yeah, a Bren gun and a Lewis gun, Jesus, you can shoot from the shoulder, but you have to be pretty strong to do it. Like, only one of my mates who's tried it can actually lift my Bren gun up and keep it on his shoulder for quite a while. Obviously, if you were firing it, you don't have to cope with the recoil. But what my point is that those guns are surprisingly difficult to hold steady like that, because obviously they weigh far more than a conventional rifle. I don't know if the stock's sawn off LXA, because I'm not the person who writes the rules on all these sort of things, but I do know with some of them, you can get some of the weird ones where they have a long barrel, but they've got a weird stock, and I think they still class as air rifles. No, I've got no need to, Jake. Where I am, there's literally no way you could go and do it unless you're doing pest control sort of stuff. If you're in a lot more remote area, there might be a thing for hunting, but not here. The only thing you'd be hunting is rats and wood pigeons. Well, as in, when you say a climbing axe, do you mean a pickaxe, kind of rock pick, sort of mountain pick sort of thing? Makes me think of Where Eagles Dare when people go on about those. But yeah, so when the Steyr comes, obviously I'll do a video restoring the Steyr as much as I can, getting as much rust off of it as possible, getting a wood varnish. If the wood's really motley, I'll get a wood varnish and then just varnish the whole thing darker. If it can be polished up, then I'll polish it up. But yeah, but it surprised me. I was having a look today at the list of UK obsolete calibers, and there's a lot of guns on there I wouldn't think you could own. But again, I think there's still the thing of you need to find a firearms dealer with them in stock. Yeah, well, I think the universal carrier Tachyon, or sort of Bren gun carrier, I think that the point was it was just very simple to slap Bren guns on that. But yeah. Yeah, exactly, Nick. So you'd need to know somewhere near you where there are deer, first of all. There are deer near me, but they're normally on public areas. Then, yes, you'd need landowner's permission. You'd also need really a Section 1, wouldn't you, to cleanly kill a deer. I mean, in theory, you can get ammo close to buckshot, can't you, on a Section 2 for a shotgun, but I don't know how efficient it would be. You know, I think you'd really rather do deer hunting with a rifle. Well, camping, not anytime soon. I've been obviously camping before. I want to do some survival videos, sort of thing, Jake, with that knife I bought recently, like the bushcraft sort of one I got. But bear in mind, because of corona restrictions at the moment, if I did a video doing something outdoors, which is blatantly illegal in terms of restrictions, you've basically given evidence that you've done something illegal with a video. As in, you went to Africa a week ago. Whereabouts in Africa did you go? I've never been to Africa. Yeah, exactly, Nick. Like, the only time I know it's the opposite of that is generally if people are doing pest control for somebody like a farmer. But again, there's not even any of that near me, because it's weird. There's farms in my area, right? But guess what? Barely any of the farms actually used for growing food or whatever anymore. All the farms seem to be where people have bought them, do nothing with the land to speculate the land price going up, to then sell them for like loads of money for housing estates later on. Yeah, they're not illegal here, Freddie, but there are weird laws regarding them, and I don't want to spend ages going into all of those. But the point is, in the UK, is weirdly it's easier to buy like air guns or obsolete caliber real working firearms than it is airsoft guns in some regards. Yeah, I wouldn't be able to do that in my garden, Peach, for the reason you probably know, but I should be one of the days soon be doing some stuff in my mate's garden, because he's got like a big garden with, you know, really high fences around it where people can't pry. So we're going to get some crossbow videos done this week, because you're allowed to technically meet people outdoors, aren't you? So if we're outdoors in his garden, we can certainly film some stuff like that. And yeah, he has a fire pit in his garden, so we could probably just do some videos of battening wood with the that knife. But yeah, so for the most part, like I said, that laser is good fun. But again, I mean, I know Banana Tonight, there's some weird things, aren't there, in some even bits of the States where there are like places you can legally have a gun, but you can't discharge it. But then how does the law work in that situation if you had to use it for self-defense? Is that like where it's then an appropriate thing? Yeah, the crossbow I'll be doing a video on primarily. I'm not sure if I've still got it in this room or if it's in the other room. No, there it is. I'll be doing the video on this one because I've had it for ages and I've not got around to doing a video on it. So I'll definitely do a video on this one, although I have to get the dust off it. If I can manage it with the thing back further, I'll put a laser sight on it just for the sake of the video because it will be interesting. But yeah, this is the one your mother gave me a load of money for. So I appreciate that, but I've just not had a chance to use it recently. That makes complete sense then, Bobby. Yeah, it's just, I always wonder with things like that if you get contradicting laws regarding those sort of things. Yeah, this was the replacement one they sent me that was a lot better when I put it together. But as I think you said and Mike said, I made sure to put that bit on before I actually did that bit up tight, even though the instructions say you don't need to. Like you said and I like sort of thought about, you're going to put less stress on the bow, aren't you, that way? My granddad's got some funny ones, but I don't want to share them without his permission. I'm trying to think if there was one I thought about the other day that made me laugh, where I can't remember I read it, but it was like, you know, an online one that I'd heard quite a few times, like from the 1800s or something, but my mind's gone blank now. All right, cheeky antics. Yeah, I think it's going to completely depend where you are, isn't it, Banana Tonight, and lots of stuff like that. There's lots of very strange things with like rules like that and the enforcement of rules and like if a cop, if you have a run-in with a policeman or whatever or a cop, are they a decent cop, or are they one of those ones that like respect my authority? But yeah, Scott, it's just as a universal thing, it's a bit of a strange thing to think about. Did you get what my point is in the sense that in the US you've got all like 50 states and the law probably varies a lot in the states, doesn't it? But yeah, so I'm going to upload a video just as like a short little video probably tomorrow of an infrared laser on night vision, just for the people who are interested in that, just like a 30-second video showing what it looks like. But then, yeah, Wednesday, although I might not get a chance to edit it together till later in the week, I will be able to do that crossbow video. All right, Claire? But like I said, it would be nice to be able to do a crossbow video because I haven't done one for ages. That's what I was saying. One of the things that when I buy an ROC post, I definitely need to get one where it's got land with it that you can definitely at least shoot bows and crossbows on, because that's kind of a deal breaker when it comes to making videos. Yeah, well, speaking of stuff like airsoft pellets, that's the same kind of interesting thing with lasers, isn't it? That it's surprising how weak a laser has to be before it can cause permanent eye damage. It's like where people seem to think, oh, because this one isn't like a super strong, power one, it doesn't matter, but it does, because it's like, yeah, if your eye gets taken out or permanently damaged, you're not going to be happy. Well, in my country, it's not illegal, Freddie. I mean, other than the government being scared of its population, I can't think of why they would have a problem with people wearing masks in public. With Corona, I think everybody's got the excuse to do it at the moment. I suppose that's a good use for them, isn't it, Peter? This one isn't going to be like one of those vertical shorts type one, but yeah, if you want to just turn the radio off or turn the volume down while you've got the same adverts over and over and over again every sort of 15 minutes, 20 minutes, then yeah, I suppose that does fit in well to that time. I know what the game Escape from Tarkov is, and I've not got it. Oh, somebody asked earlier, had I seen the Stalker remake? Are you on about Stalker 2, or are you on about the people who have ported Stalker over to is it Unreal Engine? There's a new engine where somebody's ported it over, like nearly all the files. And I think I've downloaded that, but I've not got around to installing it and playing it. And of course, you've also got stuff like Call of Chernobyl and Stalker Anomaly and all of those as well. Nick, when the goggles I use for airsofting, when I've been airsofting, are like proper sturdy ones that cover enough of your face that you can wear glasses under them. So thankfully I don't think that would be any risk with mine. But yeah, there are some people goggles I've seen who go airsofting where you think it's like the bare minimum of what you should be wearing. All right, Rich? All right, Brightle? Let me search at Cheeky Antics. There's a lot of stuff like that where when I look them up I kind of know what you're on about, but when people just give me the name without me looking it up I can never remember. It gets the same with gas masks after a while, because other than the really famous ones, there's times where I just go, I can't think of what that is. Is that one of the Ukrainian kind of post-Chernobyl ones, looking at it? Like the really, really basic ones? Yeah, it is by look of it. Because, yeah, although that's quite sophisticated, it actually goes on a keyring. But yeah, I'm familiar with a lot of the ones like the Jupiters or whatever they call them, and I've got somewhere the Bereg, but like all of those post-Chernobyl little ones they made, relatively little, I mean big compared to modern electronics, but the idea that, so people could easily monitor radiation, I guess it's one of those. What happened today, Brighto? What, just loads of work, or I suppose it's Sunday, or just COVID stuff, or real life shit? No, I haven't, Joshua. I know there's quite a few UK legal style designs. And again, it's also you have to have the discussion, don't you, about reasonable excuse. Because again, like I was saying, I've got that bushcraft knife recently. if I'm going out into the woods, I'll be taking that with me just for whittling. You know, and then I've had people on other streams going like, oh no, you can't legally take that out with you, where they don't actually read the laws up. Because there's been some funny cases actually where they've tried to prosecute people for doing stuff they could legally do, and then the police service that tried to press the charges have been ordered to pay fines. Yeah, I definitely would say what you're saying, Claire. Do not use a gas mask for airsoft. I just find them interesting, AG. I can't really give you a reason why does anybody find anything interesting. I find just warfare, and especially kind of like NBC, you know, nuclear, biological, chemical warfare, because it's quite horrible. It's really fascinating. Like, you know, you would not want anybody to have a gas like chemical weapon used against them, but it's an interesting thing to read up about. Yeah, that doesn't sound fun, Bright. I'm honestly really glad I finished school. Some people are like, oh, school's the best part of your life. For me, it wasn't. What is in a bit the ganja juice I do? No, not really. There was a really strong smell of that in a car park today when I was out in a car park. Like, you know, it smelled like proper skunk, but nah, it's not my drug of choice. I've not got a proper K-bar, Joshua, but I have got a couple of K-bar clones. One that's really crap, and one that's really good, but it's not a direct K-bar clone. But in regards to the thing is, I'd like a K-bar, but I think the official K-bars are quite expensive unless they like knocked them down. Like, as in, they're not too bad on the US market, but like in terms of imports to the UK, they charge a premium on them. But you know, like I was saying, for the MOD knife I've got, I kind of like more because, like I said, the thing with K-bars is, as much as I like them for the history of them, over here they fall into a slightly dodgier area because of all, like, you know, like I think we said about this in another stream, a bit like if you have plastic furniture on like your AR-15, you know, that kind of shit where it's an assault gun, it's a baby killing assault gun because it's got black plastic furniture on it. It's a bit like that with certain knife shapes in the UK where there's stuff that you could have two knives on you and you're more likely to get shit for having one kind of knife on you than another because, like, you know, the K-bar sort of Bowie shape to it is a bit more of one of those ones that upsets people. Right, AG. I'm trying to think. There are definitely proper books. There's one I've got somewhere, and I've probably put it away on one of my bookshelves where I can't easily show it you now, which is annoying. But there are some proper kind of encyclopedia-style books regarding respirators, and I would definitely say regarding respirators, like the proper encyclopedia-type manuals are pretty good. There's also some pretty well-known collectors who'll give you some very good info on certain series of masks that they've extensively researched. I would say be very careful if you're just Googling stuff about masks, because there's a lot of people who just don't know what they're talking about or are trying to sell a certain mask so they make it sound really good. And you'll also get the thing of you'll get into the incredibly sort of toxic, weird, you know, e-drama shit to do with it. Don't need a license or a license for a lethal cutting instrument. Well, it depends what you're doing with it. But like I said, it's weird because apparently in the US, from what I've seen, you can't buy a laser over 5 milliwatt without a license. And then there's a grey area of what if you buy a stronger one that's, you know, like been declared weaker. But then there's also, you know, like all the shit over here we can. But again, if enough idiots point them at planes, that law might change. But at the moment, they've just made the law, you know, like if you point it at a plane, you get 10 years in prison kind of thing. Otherwise, you can own whatever you want. There isn't really a difference, David. It's more down to capacity. All right, Vladimir? Like if you mean in terms of like coffee can or the other like box filters, there isn't really an advantage or a disadvantage. It's more just stowage and, you know, like volume of the filter. It's kind of like saying what's a better shape of a water bottle or like, you know, a spirit bottle kind of thing. I'd say the best one is the one that holds the most volume but takes up the least amount of space. Yeah, well, the thing is, Nick, as long as it's between consenting adults, I don't mind with that sort of stuff. But you can get down some very, very weird bits on the internet, can't you? Enough time spent looking at stuff. But yeah, so if you mean like filters like box filters like that, the EO14s compared to like an EO16, there's not really one advantage over the other. I mean, the EO16s are better because you could actually screw filters into the bottom of them. Yeah, I keep meaning Cheeky Antics to do a video. Maybe I'll get a chance to do it this week. Testing the cheap Chinese body armor I bought. Mike's already done a video showing what's inside it. But I want to do a video testing how good it is at blocking X-rays, because I'm kind of interested in seeing could you use it as equivalent of a lead apron. Now, obviously, it is worth pointing out for people that don't know, with X-rays, and I mean, obviously, gamma rays, but with gamma rays, there's not very much protection you can get from them. With X-rays, the penetration power of them depends on the voltage going into the tube. So, for example, 30 kilovolt going in will produce less powerful X-rays than 60 kilovolt in terms of like penetration of the X-ray. But I'm just sort of thinking out of interest, you know, how much of the soft X-rays will it stop that would have caused skin burns or skin cancer? It's probably under the flag, isn't it? Yeah, it's there. It's not got a filter on it, but yeah, it's there. It's just under the flag. But yeah, Chase, the problem is if they're not wearing reinforced lenses for them, their eyes might not last very long. Well, it depends what armor you're on about. The armor I'm on about certainly wouldn't. The armor I'm on about is literally really cheap Chinese stab-proof vests, and basically they're all right for the price, but they wouldn't meet a lot of standards for stab and spike protection we have over here for like actual, you know, like police kind of armor. But if you're on about Demo Ranch shooting things like ultra high molecular weight polyethylene like plates, yes, that's very different to the armor I'm on about. Like the thing is, when I've done airsofting, like I said, I would do airsofting more or paintball if there was a site near me. There's just not a site near me. After Corona, I don't know if they're even ever coming back. But I definitely enjoy it more when the people aren't taking it too seriously. They're just people there to have fun. You know, it's like if you're playing an online game, isn't it? And you've got some sort of try-hard there that wants to be using specialist military terms. It's like, you're not in the real fucking army. You're playing with a plastic gun, shooting plastic pellets at somebody that's not very effective above 20 yards. Don't take yourself that seriously. Yeah, that's the thing, Cheeky. They are expensive. The cheapest way you'd be able to do it is to just get a simple vacuum tube and get a high enough voltage system that you can generate X-rays through a vacuum tube. But that would not be a consistent source of X-ray. But what I mean is, like, I've done the videos on things like now via the camera, but the Mullard PD500 tubes, getting something like that, and then you know, like running 30 to 60 kilovolts through that. You can certainly get that cheaper than getting a proper dental X-ray camera. Well, proper dental X-ray cameras would cost thousands. Chinesium death ray dental cameras then, but like the Chinesium cameras are at least easy to use. You literally put a thing in the remote and then you shoot it from a distance where you don't fry your cells. I wouldn't mind it, Deuce, but again, nowhere near me that does anything like that. Sadly, again, the only reenactment stuff that ever seems to be in my area, if there is reenactment stuff going on, is fucking English Civil War, because that's kind of the joke thing here, where, you know, if people are doing reenactments, they always do English Civil War. And don't get me wrong, English Civil War is interesting, but it's like the most done-to-death form of reenactment over here. It's like, yes, we know the Roundheads are going to lose compared to the Cavaliers are going to lose compared to the Roundheads, you know. We do know the history of our own Civil War. Oh yeah, people not taking hits is another fucking thing as well. With all those sorts of games, it's like, yeah, don't ruin everybody else's fun, because you know, oh, I can't accept that I got hit. I mean, I can get sometimes with airsoft if you're wearing thick clothing, like it's in the winter, and a pellet sort like a BB's already lost most of its velocity by the time it hits you. You're probably not going to feel it. But you know, when people are blatantly being peppered down and oh, I didn't get hit. That's the other Civil War, Vladimir, if you're thinking of War of the Roses, that one, yeah? So that technically is an English Civil War, yeah, but when people talk about the English Civil War, they're on about Parliament versus the King, you know, Charles I versus Oliver Cromwell. That's generally the actual one that would be determined here as the English Civil War. But yeah, we've had several Civil Wars, but Yeah, War of the Roses is definitely more of a medieval kind of one of halberd and sort of sword and mace and flail and everything. Chase, because they were a mask designed in the 1960s that ceased production in the 1990s. I mean, technically, if you bought one that was still produced today, because there are a couple of Russian factories that still produce these sort of shum masks, those would be all right in theory, but they're very basic masks, you know. But I think the point is that that there's a lot better masks than that, in every country basically nowadays. For Honor, is that like the Knights versus Samurai one? If so, no. Yeah, again, like as Brightel says, if you're in certain countries, you can get Ghost filters quite easily. In most Western countries, you can't because there's just not a market for them. Yeah, I mean, there's Pirates. I've played Pirates, Knights, and Vikings, or whatever it is, 2 that used to be on Steam. Like it was a Half-Life 2 mod. I've played that one, but no, I've not played For Honor. I've played quite a bit of Mordhau when that first came out. Yeah, that's the thing, Vladimir. If you've got a use for it where you don't need it for serious survival use nowadays, they would be certainly fine for like stopping you huffing paint fumes. But anyway, is there anything people want to particularly talk about that isn't people arguing over masks? Yeah, well, the soldiers have to have a certain amount of injections, like vaccinations, don't they, Cheeky? Anyway, but yeah, I suspect with the goal for it was also because of the fear of biological weapons being used by Saddam. So there was more of a legit use for it. But there's certain countries, if you just want to visit them, you have to have a hell of a lot of vaccines. Chernobyl, GZ Deuce, because I've seen some of the World War One battlefields before, and a lot of them now aren't much to look at. Pripyat is still a very interesting thing to look at. Don't get me wrong, I think with World War One and World War Two, a lot of the museums are more interesting, because if you go to a lot of the battlefields, essentially all they are now is like, there's a beach with some concrete boxes, on the shore. Some of them are quite broken up. Here's a field that's now covered in grass and like plants again that at one point was churned up by shells. Is that like a business thing, Thomas, or what? But yeah, good luck with that and stay safe. I think India at the moment is probably the place, in Brazil doing the worst, isn't it? Yeah, exactly, Nick. The grass has regrown on a lot of them and that, but yeah, they're just bumpy fields where the ground's been churned up and then everything's regrown on them. What filters screw onto a GP5? Here's a short answer. GOST filters go on, NATO filters don't. There's a couple of like either NATO or DIN filters that people reckon go on there, and again, it's really hard to say because unless you've tested it yourself, you don't know. Yeah, there's a few things like that, Polbro, regarding different medicines that have weird side effects like that. I think they have now, haven't they, Shackleton? I think they just hadn't done it for ages, and that's why they kept getting tourists spreading horrible contaminants everywhere. Especially like the videos of people going down there without a high range meter and like, oh, it is 1 millisievert an hour. Is like, no, there's a picture of somebody putting like a good counter against one of the fireman's boots, and it's something like 800 odd millisievert per hour, or like 900 millisievert per hour. It's not 1 millisievert. As I've said loads of times, the ECBA I really like just because it's lightweight enough and fairly comfortable. I actually sometimes use the ECBA if I'm going out and doing like exercise stuff outdoors, as in like, jogging around or, doing that sort of stuff. Again, the downside of the ECBA is it doesn't cover your neck very well, doesn't cover your armpits very well, and the plates in it are quite small. So it's that sort of thing, isn't it? That do you want body armor that's comfortable and maneuverable, or do you want heavier body armor that you're going to find annoying to be wearing? Completely depends what the situation you're in is. Yeah, so you don't want to get... Is that dengue fever, how it's pronounced? Dengue fever. Is that the one you can catch more than once, or you can catch different variants more than once with it? As I've said loads of times, AG, I think nuclear power is a great thing, assuming that you have all the safety requirements for it. well-trained staff and, well-designed sort of idiot-proof, reactor designs and everything else. The ultimate combination of stuff going wrong with nuclear is poorly trained staff who are, put at the controls of something that's not very stable. But as time goes on, nuclear gets safer and safer. And what I was saying in the other stream, you really need is a lot of research done into recycling nuclear waste, because there's a hell of a lot of stuff that could be done with that sadly isn't, because, the science on it is blocked by, the eco weirdos. Pretty much, Joshua. I mean, right, so you'd need it to be ABEC P3 to be the same as a CBRN, but the thing is, not every nation has the same quality NBC or CBRN filters. So some nations' CBRN filters are very, very basic. So if you got a very good trusted brand like ABEC 2P3 filter, it's pretty much the same thing. Especially because some of the CBRN ones actually say ABEC sort of P3 on them if you actually read the small print. But yeah, bear in mind, some nations used to just do very, very simple like NBC filters, as in there's a particle layer to stop, fallout dust getting in or whatever. And then there's some, activated charcoal inside to adsorb chemical weapons to varying sort of rates of success. Of course, there's future in nuclear power. I mean, it's more just like you've got like the eco-warrior type people that just don't understand that nuclear is very, very clean source of energy if it's managed properly. Well, there's definitely ways you can recycle the waste like that, AG. The problem is it's often that those ideas get scrapped because governments don't want the waste around anywhere. The most interesting thing, if you've read any stuff about it recently, is those diamond batteries that are having, I think it's a strong alpha emitter put in them. I can't remember which radionuclide it was now, but basically there's a company that's developing, batteries that in theory would outlast your smartphone because they have a very small bit of nuclear waste with a battery that reacts to the decay heat, I think it is, from the waste. Yeah, most filters, if they've been sealed properly and they're a bit out of date, it's not going to matter for most people. I mean, you can find videos and pictures of the French in the first Gulf War where they're wearing 1950s NBC gear, so they'd be absolutely fucked if Saddam had used his weapons, but that was good enough for the French army, apparently. I'd rather swap my Scott GSR for an Avon GSR, because it would be actually more functional, but, oh well. Until it accidentally turns into space junk, nuclear space junk, that then gets aliens to invade us, I guess. Was it carbon-14? Because the thing is, carbon-14 is a very, very weak beta emitter. It's kind of fascinating, carbon-14, because it behaves a bit more like americinium, for example, like how you get decays off of it. But yeah, I need to find where my bloody carbon-14 sample is. It's locked in one safe somewhere, and I can't find it. And I wanted to do some more videos on carbon-14 because I've got, was it a 50 microcurie sample of carbon-14? It's quite a good sample size. I suppose, Vladimir. Easy, it's not whatever it is. But yeah. Wensleydale. Those French wouldn't like Wensleydale, would they? But yeah. Right, anyway, but going back to the subject of nuclear stuff, I think a lot of it, like I was saying, is how good is the recycling of it going to be? Because if nuclear stuff is recycled, it can be used for a lot more stuff. The problem is when it's not really used for anything and it just has to sit in basically containers that then get buried. That's when it's more of a problem. I've not even heard of Enlisted. Is it any good? I haven't bought it, so that's one factor. Well, if you're on about Medial and it's locked in a safe somewhere and it's carbon-14, which isn't dangerous, if it was like a proper chunk of cesium, I would be worried, but it's not. This is something, if you don't know what carbon-14 is, I'd rather you didn't comment about nuclear waste. Carbon-14 is in you at the moment because you can do a thing called carbon dated. But carbon-14 is it gives off quite a bit of beta flux, but it's very, very low penetration of beta. So basically, it means that a carbon-14 sample, unless you ate it, I don't think you'd have much to worry about at all. Carbon-14 is quite boring in some ways. It's interesting in like how certain meters react to it, but it's quite boring in terms of like doomsday nuclear stuff. I did have somebody on a video the other day who was being a dumbass say about like, oh, you're risking the health of everybody in your like local city on a sealed check source video. It's like, oh, I'm glad you have no understanding of nuclear physics, but you want to push your opinions on everybody else. It was like, I think it was the 0.25 microcurie, so 4 millionths of a curie, bit of cesium-137 I had in a proper sealed plastic disc, doing a physics thing with it, showing, you know, the decay rate at a distance from a Geiger's probe. And he was like, oh, you're risking contaminating everybody. It's like, no, that's not how nuclear waste works. But yeah, like I was saying, that's just the annoying thing with, I think, a lot of stuff like that is I am not an expert on anything because clearly I'm not qualified to be an expert. It's the Dunning-Kruger thing. The more you think you know, probably the less you know. But it's like when somebody comes on like and they think, oh, if radiation hits something, then everything becomes radiation. It's like, no, this isn't a neutron source. This is literally giving off gamma energy, and it's a tiny, tiny sealed sample. Well, yeah, it's very kind of you, but again, like I said, I don't try and claim to be because there's a lot of stuff I don't know. That is a gas mask sign. That's like a firing range one. I think, as in masks needed in this area. But they were on eBay at one point that you could buy loads of old sort of military training signs from a supplier really cheap. And don't ask me to link you to that one because, again, this was years ago I bought that, and they've not had any more in since. You know, it's a thing of buy it when you've got a chance to buy one. What do you mean by a GP6 poster? If you mean the Soviet poster towards civil defense respirators, there's loads of those on eBay. That's a reprint anyway, that one. It's not an actual original. It's like a high quality scan of an original that's then been reprinted on like modern, like, you know, plasticky poster card stuff. I got my Nixie tube clock for free. If you were to buy one like that, $50 if you found a good seller for it. Otherwise, they charge you $100, $200 for one. HE, no, I do not have a degree. I found physics really boring at school because my physics teacher didn't make school interesting. I just found nuclear stuff really interesting when I kind of was bored and wanted to read into stuff. You know, it's that kind of thing that I've known people who are trained in physics, and I sometimes chat with them about it. And I know people like radiologists and stuff like that, and I like to talk to them about it because they kind of like when they can talk about stuff like that, when most people are always boring radiation, or, you know, or it's really scary. But it's just I find it interesting. And again, if you want to sort of understand, I guess, the scale of some of the disasters like Chernobyl or, you know, stuff like that, you kind of need to learn some of the physics to do a radiation, even the very basic stuff like just the units of it and how much is bad for you. Because otherwise, you know, when people go, oh, it's high levels or low levels, that doesn't really mean much. Physics isn't boring. It just depends how it's taught, right? Because like I said, when I was at school, my physics teacher was somebody who didn't really even believe in physics, right? This is very strange. But my physics teacher in school was one of those diehard Christians that basically kind of didn't like the idea of teaching physics because she thought God did everything and, you know, humans don't have any like need to know about this stuff or something. It was really weird. So we had a teacher that basically didn't want to teach us. Like chemistry is interesting because you can make drugs. So chemistry is definitely interesting. Don't get me wrong, I do find chemistry interesting. Biology is also sort of interesting, but again, it depends because if you find one of them more interesting than the other, there's interesting stuff of all of them. I just find physics interesting because it's kind of like how firearms, ballistics work, you know, how radiation works, lasers work, that sort of thing. But yeah, that's the thing with school. Most of the subjects I took seriously were the ones I had teachers that actually made an effort to teach. Like some things I just found really boring, and that was just because we had teachers that were just the teachers that, you know, turn up, write on a whiteboard, you know, write on a whiteboard or a blackboard, and then copy this down into your book, do this homework assignment from a book by, you know. Oh, don't get me started on the RE teachers. The RE teachers were just as bad. the RE teachers are either like hardcore atheists that didn't believe in any of the religious stuff and thought it was all stupid, or they were like really seriously, involved in one religion and very biased at how they taught it. Like I said, my opinion on religion is believe in what you want, just don't hurt other people. Yeah, speaking of stuff like that, Bobby, did you see the thing? You probably did. It was like a month or two ago, because a lot of people sent me this thing where some kid got like the bomb squad or something called on him, or the FBI or SWAT or some shit in the US because he brought a fucking Fiesta-ware bowl in for a physics class to demonstrate radiation. And it's like, wow, so this kid was wanting to be like, oh, this is cool, I can demonstrate radiation by showing you this old bowl, and the school's reaction is like, he's a terrorist. Hang on, I've got one of these super dangerous items behind me somewhere if you want to see one. There it is. So yeah, if you bring one of these into America in your school, they might call the SWAT on you. I'm not making this up, by the way. Do I have a Geiger counter handy that actually turns on? Because a lot of them I've got in different rooms now, or just in coat pockets. That one doesn't have a probe on it. There's probably there is one handy saying that. There's a gigantic British one that's not going to be very sensitive to this because it barely picks up beta because it's mostly a gamma only unit, but that might get a bit of a reading off of it. Nah, not a huge reading. But again, because this one is more for measuring gamma using a Geiger probe or very hard beta. Even the DP2 source doesn't make this one go that high because of how it works. But yeah, so be warned, if you're an American student, you might get in trouble if you bring one of these into school. And as much as I wish I was making it up, I'm not. But, sadly I don't have a Geiger counter handy that will tick like crazy if I put that next to it, even though I've got Geiger counters. So, what, you got in trouble with the police because you answered a physics question regarding physics. Like, oh, you can stop alpha with a sheet of paper for the most part, but beta will go through paper and like slightly into your skin and cause skin burns, and gamma will shoot right through you. Right, you're going to prison then, mate. It's like there's something very bad, isn't there, about an education system where kids that become knowledgeable on things are basically like, oh, no, that's a bad thing. That's pretty cool, Brighton. But yeah, sounds like at your school at least they're not as bad. But I think this is more like a weird Western school thing recently, where like kids, oh no, you can't show any education. Yeah, I suppose if you're homeschooled as well, Banana, you're not going to get shot by a school shooter, are you, as well? Because that's the other thing that happens in America. Well, a few other places as well. But for the most part, Tim, no, it doesn't, because of all of the stuff that I won't go into on this stream. But yeah, it's if you don't know, most of these things get worse and worse over time, not better. I don't see anybody that's off. I'll be on another 10 minutes or so. Yeah, imagine you're literally just talking about types of radiation and they think you're building a dirty bomb or something. That's crazy. Like, I could get why they'd be a bit worried if you're like me and you're like, oh, I've got a safe full of, all of these radionuclides. But again, you can legally own them here. But it's just literally like, oh, I know about this stuff. Or you're a bad person because you've read up on things. You've had too much to think, comrade. I have shot a gun, not very interesting guns, if you want to know. I've shot, I think, what was a 20-bore shotgun, because this was going back before I even had this channel. Otherwise, I'd have put a video up on it. I think it was a 20-bore shotgun, and the other one was just literally a bolt-action 22 long rifle. Like, literally the most boring kind of actual firearms you can shoot. But, it's just because we knew somebody who used to own firearms. If you get some sort of Geiger counter banana tonight, you can test if it's a radium watch or not, because you'll definitely find out pretty quickly if it's radium coated if you've got the right thing to sort of pick it up. I'm not going to let you drag the conversation down the person that's saying, oh, you've got this username, but you don't have enough weapons to have that username. Well, Tim, I certainly hope so. That was brought up earlier in this stream. But again, who knows how long it is till COVID's back to normal, because I bet the Indian variant's going to fuck stuff up again now. Yeah, well, a lot of the school system, Claire, was designed, wasn't it, to literally make industrialized sort of workers out of children, as opposed to, you know, making people that actually had critical thought. There's another thing, I'm trying to think, the first, I'm almost gone blank now because I think I've read 2 comments at once and it's done that thing that confused me. I was like one of the things I think would have been good at school is if you were taught all about taxes and stuff like that, but you're not. It's literally learn how to answer questions for an exam. You are now ready to go into the world of work as a wage slave. Is there a doorstop made of gold in Los Alamos? I mean, there's lots of interesting stuff at the Los Alamos laboratories. I mean, especially things like, oh, we've got a plutonium core here. Whoops, we irradiated ourselves fatally again. The best gas mask I've ever bought. My favourite one's the Avon CT12, as I will say over and over and over and over again. But, you know, personal opinion really, isn't it? Oops, there goes a GP5. There you go, with only one of the things on it. Right, I'm just going to test this because I've not tested it, but I'm assuming these are going to do fuck all against lasers. So let's see. Obviously, again, this shitty thing. It's annoying because this is an actual alright laser when it works. It's just seems like it has a really bad on-off switch. Don't know why. I know, but CT12, I still like it. Yeah, it doesn't want to work now, does it? Better stare into it as I try and turn it on. Yeah, for Sheed Rifle. I would really love the military version of that, but sadly I don't have the military version. Right, the laser's decided it's going to cock up when I'm trying to demonstrate something. Oh, there we go. Right. Yeah, it's just shit contacts in there, I think. Actually, I reckon what it might be, let me have a look, is where that bit, if that bit's not connected very well to the, let's see. Wow, which one's worth more value if I could sell it on? Because I think it might be like the spring there is being a bit crap in terms of contact. If I tighten it this way, does it? Yeah, that might help. $18,650. All right, that's at least working now. So anyway, so obviously side where there's no protection on it, laser goes straight through. That side, yeah, laser goes straight through. So yes, these sort of outsets do nothing against lasers, just in case anybody was wondering. I've kind of done some very cheap make your own gas mask videos, but I would not rely on them. Get a proper one. I suppose there's that, isn't there, Brighthole? But still. But again, it's hard to say because, like I've said, at the moment, I don't really want to spend much money on stuff like that because, you know, real life bills. Yeah, I know, Claire, but I was lucky to get that for about £30 when I originally got it. But wow, at the moment, it's unboring videos, the exact same thing as it was before. Every month, I get more savings for it. I'm yet to have one that comes up in my affordability range. What do you want it for, Chroma? If you wanted it just maybe for exercising with doing a bit of practice with that sort of stuff, the John Barnett rapier is all right. If you wanted it for serious fencing type stuff, I would say no. And bear in mind, I can't do anything like that. But I think I did a video on it, John, so maybe watch my review of it. But yeah, the John Barnett one, I think it's nicely enough built for what it is. It's a bit on the heavy side. Most of the reviews I've seen of it where people say they're bad, some of them are more like the snobbery things, like, oh, it's not a really expensive Albion sword, therefore it's bad. But in my opinion, it's more just, it's a bit too heavy for what it should be. But again, you know, the point is that, you know, it's like, what do you want it for? Do you literally just want it as something to practice with or to look nice on the wall? If so, it's fine. Because a lot of the John Barnett stuff seems to basically be wall hangers that are actually built to be kind of usable, but not, you know, very nicely balanced handling swords. It's a dual port CT12. So it's one from 2001, apparently. I probably bought it about 2011, 2012, I think. Oh, turn the light off when I'm trying to show it with the light. Yeah, probably won't want to focus on there, will it? But yeah. So it's a 2001 model, but again, I was just lucky that there was one on eBay at the time and not much was wanted for it, you know. Some people do list stuff for cheap prices and then they sell and they sell, you know. Didn't come with any bag or anything, that's why I keep it in a separate kind of satchel. But can you just get a 6-point head harness, Polbro, and just fit that instead and get a good enough job of it fitting? Exactly, Vladimir. Again, like some of them are built sturdy enough. And it's like the Victorian armor, isn't it? You get some of those that look really nice for sort of presentation somewhere, but it's not like battle-hardened armor. It's either too heavy or it would be like no protection if something actually hit you at speed. It's the stuff that's designed to look nice on a wall, you know, or somebody just to hold it and do like that with it, and that's it. If the buckles and the straps at the top are completely gone, your mask's had it. Because sadly, you know, that's the problem lots of things like that have, is if that bit's gone, then it's too bad. Because, you know, with most masks, although there were mask repair kits, for the most part, it's if your mask has got a proper bit of damage, you throw it away and get a new one. All right, hopefully you don't get any side effects or anything from it. Some people I know have had the second jabs of various things, say they had no side effects compared to their first jab. Other people said they felt just as ill the second time as the first time. Hopefully you get your jab, you know, you don't feel ill at all, and, you know, then you've got the best level of protection available because you've had 2 jabs. Yeah. Yeah, that's annoying, isn't it, Chroma? Because there's the Cold Steel 1796, and that's apparently got quite a few things wrong with it, hasn't it? Like, I think it works all right if you wanted to, you know, use it as a sword, but it's got a few bits that made it not look like the original 1796. Also, they only did a 1796 light cavalry saber, didn't they? I don't think they ever did the heavy cavalry variant of it, like the one in Sharp. But yeah, it's kind of a shame with a lot of the swords that there's quite a few iconic ones where nobody's ever done things of them. Because like the one I've got that I quite like in terms of cheapo cutlasses was this windlass Steelcraft sort of US style cutlass. You know, this is very good for whatever it cost, £150 or whatever. But, you know, it's a shame Windlass didn't do some of the British type ones rather than just the US ones, because, you know, I'd have liked some of the British swords done by them, because this is quite well put together for the price. All right, Gretchen. Well, if he's got diabetes, it's a good thing he's got the vaccine, because obviously the more protection you can get, the better. Yeah, when I had my first jab, I felt fine for a couple of hours. Then my arm was a bit achy, but you get that normally with any jab, especially if they've not quite got you in the muscle properly. But then what I had a bit later was just felt very tired and a bit achy, you know, like flu or very mild flu. After a few days, that went away completely. Yeah, that's definitely the thing, Graham. I definitely like the look of the 1796 because it just looks like a very efficient saber, doesn't it? But sadly, again, like saying, nobody's done a good version of it as far as I can tell. I think there's some companies that do like a wall hanger one, but as in it would break if you had to ever use it for anything practical. Well, you'll know what it is when I do the 100k special. I've got some ideas, but I don't want to spoil it. And there's a couple of different things I might do. So, you know, it's going to be one of those ones of when I'm at like 99 point something K, I'll see which of the videos is the sort of one to film. Yeah, I'm doing all right, Gretchen. I've had my first jab, as said. At the moment, I'm in that annoying situation where I'm trying to find out if I've still got a job I can go back to or not. Because where the government's closed down so many things, you know, for the COVID relief type stuff, there's a lot of jobs where, you know, they're reopening, but they don't know if they can actually take all the staff back on, like the first lockdown. And I'm in that sort of situation where every week I'm just sort of getting, you know, longer and longer and longer sort of thing of, oh, ask us again, ask us again. Other than that, I'm all right. But, you know, there's not loads of interesting stuff going on at the moment. It's just extensions of lockdowns, really, and sort of sitting about waiting for everything to open up again. The channel sounds familiar, Ward Bros, but off the top of my head, I don't know any of his videos. Right, Sarah, I wouldn't answer that just because if I said and then I had to use it, it might be premeditated. Thank you, Stug, but I'm going off now, Stug, if you've only just come on. Well, if you're asking me, Boy Bro, it really depends because obviously at the moment I'm massively trying to save up to move out. So, in theory, the faster I save up to do that, the less disposable income I have. But you know, yeah, it'd be good, Rich, if you could forge some 1796s because it'd be good for people if they wanted to buy one. Because like that's the thing, isn't it? That there's not many companies that actually do the 1796. Wow, a lot of this stuff wouldn't be going with me, or it's just going to get sold. But as Nick says, you have to be very careful what you say in the UK. You know, if something was to hand and you were attacked, that might be a different story. But don't ever say you own something for the purpose of self-defense. All right, but yeah, but it was only just in regards to me at the moment. It's, you know, a situation of the more I save each month for the bunker fund and like then the restoration amount for a bunker when I've got one, the less it would be the chance I can buy something new. And like I said, recently I've been trying to sell stuff just because that'd be good, Bleachy Boy, if you could. I'm saying you just get access to a cup. Really, it's just every other day there's a members stream where people don't really chat stuff like what is your favorite gas mask. They're normally more in-depth conversations. But yeah, the thing at the moment is just kind of every now and then selling stuff to make a bit of room, you know, just so it's a little bit of spare income. But for the most part, it's just less clutter all around the place. Didn't somebody else build a bunker in their garden? I'm trying to think of the bloke's name, but it's a bloke who actually has his name as the channel name. Well, as I was saying, War Bros, my best ones I keep. Some of them would stay here. A lot of them I'd sell. Colin Furs, yeah, that's it. Thank you. Yeah, everybody knows all at once who I was on about. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Rich. And like everybody I know in my family's had either their first or second shots now, so that's all good. Like, you know, especially the more vulnerable people like my granddad, because he's 96 now and he's had both his vaccines, so that's good. But the problem I think I was hearing about, I think Dr. John Campbell's mentioned it in his videos, and I've heard this in a few places, is hasn't Biden blocked the export of materials needed in India to make vaccines that then ship back to the US and other countries? So, you know, there's that kind of sort of annoying thing going on in a lot of countries, isn't there? Like logistics chains of stuff where everybody wants to keep all the stuff for themselves, which actually hurts them in the long run. But yeah, the thing I'm most worried about at the moment is the Indian variant, just because that is out competing the Kent variant we had in the UK and like the Brazilian variant now in India. and that's spreading so fast that I don't know how it works in terms of vaccine, getting around the vaccine if you're already vaccinated. But I'd worry if that gets to a lot more countries. We're just going to have another wave, everything locks down, more people lose their jobs. But just judging on the speed, the Indian variant spreading in India at the moment, I think it's going to do a hell of a job if it gets into Europe in terms of, like just shutting everything down again and overwhelming lots of medical things. And then if you've got a cancer appointment, you're not getting that appointment, and then you'll probably just die of the cancer. When I had the most gas masks at one point, probably about 150 different masks. At the moment, probably 130 to 140, because I've sold a couple, given some away to people I know, that sort of thing. Anyway, I'll finish the stream now because I've gone on over an hour. Hope everybody's enjoyed it. For the most part, this has been quite a sensible stream. Yeah, hope everybody's all right anyway, because like I said, it's a bit of a bleak scenario around the world, isn't it, with Corona? Even if you're like not somebody at risk from it, you're still going to probably have all the economic effects hit you. So tomorrow's Monday, isn't it? I'll probably do a members stream tomorrow rather than the public stream. But I tend to just alternate them, and I don't necessarily do a stream every day, so it's normally every other day. But then obviously sometimes I miss a day streaming because I want to just have a sit down and relax. But thanks, Vladimir, and thanks everybody else. Hope you all have a good evening. And yeah, I'll be probably putting a video on tomorrow evening anyway of the infrared laser for the people who want to see it. Right, cool. See you, everybody.